Hello. I am required to tell some more about Christmas. The first Christmas that Chip and I had sort of together.
Sure.
Because he was at Trinity College just down the road, and he and his friends, Tom Phillips and some other people, were in this rather dreadful old house, but nobody minded that at all. And what was the next thing that you wanted to be reminded
Your
about?
roommate wanted you to meet someone.
Yeah.
How did you meet Dad?
How did I meet Dad? Well, occasionally we would stop by and visit with the people in that house. Dolly House, they used to call it. It was Dalton House. And there was some other people from the seminary who were there. And they were big old rooms, big dark rooms with big curtains. I think Chip and the chap who was sharing an apartment with him thought that it was the most dreadful place because they were both used to Sewickley, rather posh places, and they did not think it was very nice. They didn't want to do any work or anything like that. They just wanted to be looked after properly. But there were several people that were in the same class as Chip. And yeah, there was, I'm getting it crooked, the times. Stop it a minute and tell me what's the next part.
Well, how about that you had people over before your arts meeting?
Yeah, we had this Christmas arts group, Christian arts group, and every month we met together, and sometimes more often than that. And yeah, there were a bunch of English friends.
And you and your roommate would try to do things that people couldn't repay you, right?
Yes. We tried to do hospitable things that were good for people that they couldn't possibly repay. There was absolutely nothing that they could do that would say thank you or anything, because we were looking for people who couldn't do anything. And so it was pretty easy to do nice things for these foreigners because they couldn't do anything. They didn't have a place of their own. They had very little money. But that was fun.
And so somebody said you needed to meet this chap.
Yeah, somebody said I should meet this chap, Chip Nix, and I thought that sounded like a very unlikely name. And they said, no, you'll like him. So I met him, and the sad thing was that he didn't turn up the first time because he didn't know where these places all were in relation to each other. Actually, it was about 5-7 minutes walk, but they didn't understand about walking to places because Americans don't do a lot of that. And Chip did have a car. It was a really battered old Plymouth or something. And didn't really go very willingly at all, but we made it work for its last days.
And did you do something special on his birthday?
Yes, his birthday was coming up, and so our family used to do this thing for Easter where we all got little tiny chocolate eggs, like the little Lindt chocolate eggs, and we would hide them all over the place so that you got surprised. Everything you did, there was another chocolate egg. And so we got quite a few packages of the little Lindt eggs or little Suchard eggs, and we hid them while he was gone in his apartment, all over the place, through his clothes and things even. We went in a cupboard and we put them in the pockets of his suits and things like that. And so it was a surprise for him, and every time he went into his cupboard for some more clothes, there were more chocolate eggs, which he thought was very surprising and strange. But there were some friends of ours called the Ramsdens, and they had said that they thought that the thing that I should do, because I rather fancied Chip, was that I should let him know that that was how I felt, in some kind of rather private and way. And so I did. I got lots of those little eggs and I hid them all through his things. And he was surprised. He had absolutely no idea that anybody might do something like that. And I also, I had these friends, the Winters, and I got them to come in with me on it, and I went and got lovely steaks, because I knew that Chip and the other Americans thought that steak was a really good thing, and it certainly wasn't anything that they got fed at the seminary. So I went out and bought a bunch of really big, beautiful steaks, and they were completely surprised to get something like that. And the idea was it would show them that I was a little interested.
Did it work?
It did. It worked. But then Tom Phillips, silly fellow, he said he thought it was very embarrassing that I had been so, extravagant and done something that was so obvious. And I thought, well, that was the whole point, really. Not to say, actually, I'm quite interested in you, but just to do something that would demonstrate it. And it worked. And the next day, Chip came over and he'd written me a poem, which was very surprising because he wasn't the sort of chap that you'd expect to be writing you poems.
I wish we still had that.
It wasn't much of a poem, let me tell you.
It was dreadful, but still.
It was not much of a poem, but it was genuinely meant and romantic, truly.
Sure, it was the only one he ever wrote.
Yeah, and anyway, and then Tom Phillips came over and he said, that was terribly embarrassing, you doing that. I said, really? You think so? You think I should say sorry to him? And he said, oh, yes. Well, then Chip came in and he didn't need saying sorry to at all. He understood completely that I was saying without actually putting it into words that I thought he was quite nice. He liked it, and he liked the steaks. It was really very fun. Yeah.
So how did Dad propose?
Oh, it was funny because he had to plan it all. So he had to get a ring for me before he was ready to do it. And then there's this place, what's it called?
Box Hill.
Something or other, Box Hill, that's right. which is a famous Surrey spot that comes into books and things. And it was terribly obvious what was going on. It was not at all secret or coy or anything like that. But he took me up Box Hill because he had this battered old car. And we walked up the hill. And it is a beautiful place. And he proposed to me. So I said, yes, I thought I would.
And what about your wedding day? Can you remember anything special about your wedding day?
Yes. We got married in Ashtead because that's where I had gone to school. And from Parsons Mead School, we used to go on Sundays. It was really quite a special treat to be able to go to church at in Ashtead. And there were beautiful box hedges, and there was a tennis court there, and some of us from school, from Parsons Mead School, we would go and play tennis there in an evening sometimes when it wasn't term time, and they had a swimming pool there too, which was really beautiful. We had this Latin teacher that we called Mater Cornu, Mrs. Horn, and yeah, we would go and play tennis together or something like that. Very bad tennis. But that was kind of fun. And they had this nice swimming pool so we could all take our swimsuits and splash around in this pool up on the hillside.
And that was where the church was?
The church was below that, down the hill. And it was in the village. So there were a couple of churches that were part of that church. There was, can't remember the names of them. There was St. Giles.
And that's where you.
That's
And
where
then
you
there was
got married?
St. George's.
Which one did you get married in?
We got married in St. Giles, which was much more beautiful. Though St. George's was a better church, I think. And there was this young curate chap that ran it, and he was a very sweet guy. They were really nice people, and we had the loveliest songs, and I mean, really, they did, at Christmas time, they really did it up. They had most wonderful decorations. We had a very, very fine art teacher at that school who got the whole school busy, and we were all making these amazing paper decorations and just extraordinary decorations. Brilliant. She was a wonderful artist. Anything to do with art she could do and make us absolutely love doing it and be completely cooperative in every way, which we weren't usually.
This is when you were at school?
At school, yes.
Okay. But your wedding day, did you have pretty decorations then? Or?
Not so, well, we had flowers.
Okay.
We had white roses.
And what about after you got married, when you were, how did you get to America, and what did Dad say on the boat? Do you remember?
No, what did he say?
Well, when you were
going
coming
over the
into New
bridge.
York?
When we were coming into New York
On
Harbor.
the yeah.
Oh, it was so grim and grey. There were layers of pollution on top of each other. It was really, really gloomy,
And that was your first glimpse of America, right?
It was.
When you came in.
When you came in under
Well, I
the
had been,
Verrazano
I
Narrows
had
Bridge?
been there before.
Okay.
I went there just for, I don't know, 10 days or something
Okay.
with
But you hadn't
Daddy.
been to New York before.
Yes, I had been to New York that one time.
But when you came into New York Harbor and you went under the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, what did Dad say?
Dad said, I built that. I said, did you really? And he said, yes. He had been working, with builders, and they gave him a job
worked
He
at
was
the-
reaming, right?
He worked at a
reaming
steel-
out the places for big screws or something.
Yeah, the steel factory on us as a summer
The
job.
steel factory was right
In Ambridge.
in Ambridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he actually had built it. And what he and his friend did was, they were supposed to like ream out the holes for, I don't know, 10 screws in an hour. Or no, maybe in an afternoon, a whole day, a long time. And he and his friend challenged each other. Let's see how many we can do in the time we've got, however many hours it is. So they absolutely threw themselves into this, and they did, I don't know, like maybe 70 screw holes. And then the people came to look at what they'd done, and they said, oh, well, we did our allotted amount. And they looked at it and they counted, and the number was way off. Instead of being 30 or something, it was like 70. But they never confessed to how many they had done. They just wrote down the number as if it were the wrong number. And they were very successful in their reaming. Yeah.
Do you have any other romantic memories of Dad? Specifically?
Romantic memories.
No. The poem's a big one.
It was really rather sad because I was, there we were on the QE2, and I was supposed to be having a romantic honeymoon going across on the QE2, but it wasn't very romantic because I kept being sick, and so I would go and lie down, and poor old Chip was stuck with nothing much to do. But there was a couple on the boat who had been very significant in the building of the bridge, and who were extremely wealthy people, and they had their children with them, which was like 2 or 3 grown-up children. And so, we had a cabin with 2 bunks in it, and it was pretty small and pretty deep in the boat. But they had a suite of cabins up on the top deck with wonderful bunks, and right next to the top dining room, because they had lots of dining rooms on there. And so they invited us to come with them into this posh dining room. And we ate, I think, all our meals there with them. They were tickled pink to have people who were pleased to be eating fancy food, because their kids were sick and tired of fancy food and didn't want to. Would have been just as happy with a hamburger. In fact, probably much happier. So we went there and we ate lovely food when I wasn't feeling too sick. But several times I had pretty nice meals there, and they had very posh, amazing desserts that they brought on that had fires in them and things like that. Really, really exciting desserts. And they served us very grandly on, the top silver dishes.
Did Dad enjoy it as well?
Dad did enjoy it. He thought it was lovely.
Okay.
Yeah. And there were these other people that Chip knew from Sewickley. They were grand people. They were people who had to do with the building of the ships that we went on and things like that. Yeah, so it was really very posh food with lots of courses and lots of choices, and yeah, it was something.
Okay.
But you did get a proper honeymoon in Switzerland, though.
Yeah, we went to Switzerland, so that was very wonderful. Yeah. It was lovely. we went up a mountain, and there was a beautiful place that we went there for our honeymoon. It was just gorgeous. Yeah.
Okay.
Old chalets, very old, very large chalets. I think now they've probably all been knocked down, and probably there are 2,000 chalets where there had been one, and we were in the one, which was just beautiful, beautiful wood and beautiful little restaurant. It was small. It was sort of modest, really.
Well,
Yeah.
Tell us what you bought there.
What did I buy? I can't remember.
You and Dad both bought something there that you had for years and years and years.
What did we buy?
Bought boots.
Oh yes, we got a matching set of boots, red and white, and they had a lot of stuffing in them, these boots, and we walked across a big valley which was full of snow. It was deep, deep snow, and then we skated, and Daddy was terrified of skating because he was a large man to fall over, and he didn't want to try that.
Okay. Knock at the door.